Now, we can also see down here that we have begun to get a score because we now have some numbers in the system. So let's go ahead and look over this. We have a weighted average price here, and we have our resistance. We subtract those, and the difference is 20. Because we're a seller, of course, we would like to sell for more. So now we're doing well. That's good. We divide that by our resistance to end up with a fraction, and that's a 0.01. And then we times that by 100 to get back to above a decimal, so 1.45. Now, what does this mean? It doesn't really mean anything. It means some groups could have more, some groups could have less. If I had sold the price to be lower than 1400, maybe I sold it just to be 1380, just my resistance, then right now my score would be 0 so far. Up to here would be 0 because I didn't do anything above my resistance. Plus flex points. So now we're at 2.45. And then we're going to times importance. So you can see importance is a big one. If we had a 2 importance, we would now be right over about 5. But instead we only have 1 importance, so we're going to stay at 2.45. And then times inventory sold. So how much of the inventory did I sell? Well, actually I only sold a little bit because I only put out there, how many was it? 500 units, I think. I'll look up here. 500 units. That's not many compared to my total. It's just 3% of the total. And then it comes out to having a score. So I think the score gets rounded up, no decimals. So 1. Well, 1 seems like a small number, but hey, we've only just begun. We only made 1 deal. Now, one thing to pay attention to is you do have a limited number of deals you can make. So let me see, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces for deals. So that's a little bit limited. You need to pay attention to that. Now, we are a seller, so we do have one more special case for a seller. So let's go ahead and look at some of the special rules now for the seller. If you're a seller, you have a production situation, right? How much can your factory produce? And what we did remember was we took the beginning number, which were the base units, and we had a mod units. So our factory is able to produce 15,600 units in this example. Production maximum, that means what's the maximum you can produce? Okay, the maximum is equal to the mod units. And where's the mod units? Right up here. 15,600. 15,600. Let me zoom in a little bit, get a better picture of that, right? There we go. What if you want to produce more? Let's say you find a buyer and the buyer is giving you a really good deal. You have a great opportunity, or maybe you want to help a buyer because you have a good relationship or whatever. So you want to produce more. So you want to overproduce. Can you overproduce? Well, no, you cannot unless you spend something. And what do you spend? You spend flex points. So how does this work? For every 10% over your maximum production, which is your mod units, you must spend a flex point. So 1 flex point to increase production 10%. This will be calculated automatically down in this area here when you input your deal sheet. So for example, we can see here in this area overproduction price. So if you overproduce, it'll automatically calculate here and remove a flex point for every 10% you go over. You have a maximum of 7 deals and 1 flex point for every 10% increase. Now, what does the 10% mean? It means any number between 0 and 10%. So if you overproduce 11%, how much will that cost you? 2 flex points, because you've gone over 20% basically. They come in these big chunks. So flex points are kind of set, and you need to pay attention to that. here's a short summary just to remind you very quickly of how the deals work and how you benefit or lose something, how you gain or lose. Going lower gains flex points. Going higher spends flex points, in this case because we're the seller. So going lower, in this case, like for example, lower price, lower speed, or here higher speed, lower speed, these kinds of things. Canceling a deal will have a cost if both sides do not agree. So we can cancel the deal. Well, how can we cancel? Well, we come right back up to the top and we push the cancel button here, and we're going to get another form to cancel the deal. But before we do that, let's look at our counterpart, because we've just looked at the group number 1 example, and that example was a seller. Let's now jump over to the counterpart, I think right here, and this is group number 2. So group number 2, we're going to scan down here, and we can see group number 2 is a buyer. Why? Because if they go to the seller page, what do they get? Not seller. They cannot use the seller page. They're a buyer. Okay, they have the same information that the seller has. Same. But what's different? This is different. The resistance is different because it went through the dice roll for them. The mod units is different because it went through the dice roll for them also. The importance could be different. In this case, by coincidence, it's the same. The flex points could be different. In this case, they have 2 flex points, right? Again, for the buyer, same thing. They can come over here and very quickly see their maximum situation. Now, let's go ahead and complete the deal we just made with the group number 1. Group number 2, who's the counterpart, must also make the same deal. So they're going to go ahead and open up a deal sheet. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill in the deal sheet for the buyer. Okay, I've completed that, and let me just go over real fast for you. So we're making the deal now for the buyer, and this is RPG 0, group number 2. I am now group number 2. My password, where do I get the password? Remember, the password is back on your RPG sheet. I have a deal ID. Where did the deal ID come from? Remember, we both use the same group ID. The buyer and the seller use the same ID. Where did we get it? From this page here, where we click and get a number, a timestamp. Who am I making a deal with? I'm making a deal with group number 1. I am a buyer, because group number 1 is a seller. And how many am I buying? 500 units. And what's the price I'm buying for? It's 1,400. What's the quality I'm buying? 2. And what's the delivery speed I'm buying? 2. These numbers must be exactly the same for the buyer and the seller. And we just do this one time, each group, for one deal. So this means that every deal needs 2 of these forms. 1 from the buyer, 1 from the seller. I submit. And now we can check the results by looking on group number 1 on their RPG sheet. And we can come down and we can see that this is the deal we sent. And here we see the details of the deal. But we also can see over on the right side this little note here. Deal reports match. Deals report match. That means that when the seller sent their 1 report and the buyer sent their 1 report, the numbers were the same. If those numbers do not match, that means that one of the buyer or seller team did not correctly put in the information, and that's a way to try to cheat. If that happens, of course, things won't work out exactly right. In this case, let's say that I'm still group number 1 here, and I put in my information like this, but group number 2, instead of putting in the information of quality 2, they went ahead and said, hey, I think we can just get high quality and cheat this little game. And so I'm going to change that to be quality of 3. Okay, so I've changed it in the database so that group number 2 tried to cheat by buying quality 3 instead of quality 2. And in that case, we're going to have a little bit of a problem when we refresh this page, I think. Yes, there we go. You can see now deal reports mismatch. Now, you do have to be a little bit patient sometimes. This is Google Docs. If your internet connection is slow, it could be slow. Also, the calculation can be quite complicated. Sometimes up here in the top area, you'll see a little bar of progress. When you see that bar, that means you're waiting for the data to come through from the database over the internet. So just keep an eye open for that. There you go. There's the bar. You see the bar? That's the updating bar. When you see that updating bar, that means data is coming through. Be patient. Don't go crazy. All right, so what we have here again is on group number 1, I went ahead, I made a deal. I thought I put the information in correctly, but look what happened. Deal report mismatch. So what am I going to do now? Well, this means either the buyer or the seller put something in wrong. They could have put in the wrong deal ID. They could have put in the wrong quality. They could have put in the wrong quantity. They could have put in the wrong delivery time. Or they could just be trying to cheat. In any case, that deal is not going to count. So you're going to have to do something to fix that. Now, if you contact the other group and you can ask them what happened, and they may deny that they did something wrong, you could go ahead and cancel the deal. We're going to look at canceling the deal in a moment. Or you could talk to the other group and maybe you decide, oh yes, I did something wrong. I put in the wrong deal ID or I put in something wrong. If that's the case, then you can send an email to the teaching assistant email and be very clear. Who are you? What RPG game are you talking about? And what is the exact situation for what group? What do you need to change? This is one reason it's important to take a screenshot of your deal form and also your cancel form if you make a cancel. Because when you make your deal, if you type something wrong, how will you know it was wrong unless you have a screen capture of it? Also, if you typed it correctly and you want to show the other side, your counterpart, hey, I did everything right, it must be something you did wrong, you again need a screen capture. So it would be really good to keep a screen capture on your own of the deal report, and that way you can prove later what happened. In any case, if you talk to the other group, in this example, group 1, group 2, and we say, oh, I must have typed something wrong, my bad, I did something wrong, you can email TA Assistant, be very clear, what do you want me to change, and I'll go ahead and change that inside the database to match. Now once I make the change, for example, maybe in this case group 2 did not choose high quality on purpose, they just made a mistake, they thought they could do that. I go into the database, I can change that, and once I've changed that, the data will come through to your spreadsheet, or next time you refresh it'll come through and you'll be able to see that the deals actually match after I made that change you requested. So if you make a mistake, that's okay.